Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you here tonight. And we have three beautiful women to tell us about their children. And Mark Pitstick is back. So thank you all for being here tonight. So our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the Helping Parents Heal meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are very healing to parents all over the world, and they are all posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not in our time zone can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. So thank you, everybody, and Mark, go for it.
Thank you, Lynn, and welcome, everyone. You've likely heard of Shining Light Parents, and you're going to hear from three great ones this evening. Now, the term Shining Light Parent describes parents who have had one or more children who have passed on, who have changed worlds. And of course, they went through the dark night of the soul and deep grief and sadness and loneliness and anger and self-blame and all the emotions that most parents go through. However, over time, they were able to work through that. They were able to serve others and help others. And as such, have become more what we call shining light parents. They recognized that their child was really an eternal soul, only their child in this certain time space scenario, that they'll see each other again, that their child continues to live on, and that perhaps all this happened for a good reason. So they're looking for those silver linings, they're looking for the blessings, they're helping others. And in my experience, these shining light parents are some of the most impressive people I've met. And I've worked with people, my whole life, 50 years in service. Joyful, peaceful, loving. Now, not all the time, I'm not saying their lives are perfect. However, it's a really high level of functioning they've reached. So it's a true honor to interview them, to learn from them.
That's what we're happy for.
And to share with others how they can do the same. So I recommend you listen closely, learn how they've moved from deep grief and pain to high levels of peace, joy, love, and helping others. So you can see my article number 82 at soulproof.com. Free articles, again, number 82, to learn more about this journey that you can take as well. That's the goal, to help as many parents do this as possible. Because it's not just about helping the parents and helping others around, but enough shining light parents can be a potent force for making our world a better place, just like near-death experiencers who are so transformed. And that's so Helping Parents Heal parents, shining light parents, are one of the group that gives me hope that we can achieve world peace and so on, reach that tipping point. Now, before we start the interviews, there are some important resources that are available now. So if you go to helpingparentsheal.org, and then at the top tab, it says YouTube videos. And then the first selection below that says affiliate leader and caring listener interviews. And at the bottom of that page, then you'll see the following. First, you'll see YouTube videos for all the interviews we've done thus far. And all this is free, by the way. And then an affiliate leader link, so you can find a group nearest you, how to contact caring listeners who provide free service listening. a calendar of online events because there's something going almost every evening. 4 videos that I created experiential sessions, the holistic breathing technique, pre-birth planning, one called Ask Your Soul, God and Angels, and then finally the facilitated after-death communication technique, a way to increase the chances of perceiving your child's living presence. And then finally a list of 11 articles that I can most commonly recommend to people. So again, be sure to see those resources. With that in mind, we are ready to move on to the interview. And our first one this evening is Cindy. Cindy, thank you. And tell us, please, about your child's life and passing.
Absolutely. So good evening, everybody. I'm assuming it's evening for everyone. So my son, Joshua Bohart, passed at age 20. Was September 2019. It was very unexpected through a single car auto accident, about a half a mile from our home. A little bit about Josh. So I know as I've talked to a lot of parents who've also had a child pass, a lot of stories around, now that I look back, there was something different about my child, or somehow they knew, or they seem like an old soul. And I think most of us have at least one of those types of aspects that we can connect with our child. And so I would say the same with Josh as well. From a very young age, the words I think of for him were inventor, visionary. And I know that sounds really dramatic, but he would create things, whether it was out of Legos or very detailed models out of sheets of paper that were just seemed kind of odd for his age at the time. And then that transitioned into his way of looking at the world. As he grew older, it kind of went from that point more into videos and writing stories. And his stories always had a depth that were very unusual. He would have characters, and these characters all would have struggles of some sort. But he looked at the people underneath the layer that we all see. As we go about our lives, the people we work with and friends, he would touch upon deeper levels. And again, it was one of those moments where you think, this is unusual. And I think the biggest thing that I would remember about all of that is his heart. And again, that sounds like something all of us as moms and dads would say about our kids. But there was almost an empathic ability, or an empathic aura, if you will, around him, where he seemed to be able to feel everyone and everything around him. And he had this aspect where he just wanted to help people. And again, lots of folks out there like to help people, but it was almost non-negotiable. It was natural. And I think the biggest thing is he always celebrated other people's victories. I know in a world where there's a lot of jealousy and a lot of competition, it didn't matter. The way he would celebrate even people that maybe he disliked. And those are the types of things that I take away when I think back about his time here on Earth.
Beautiful. And I'm curious, did you have, Cindy, any feelings, when you saw all these stellar aspects about him? Did you have ever a feeling like, oh gosh, I wonder if he's gonna live to 90, 95?
Yes. Yes.
Tell me more about that, please.
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. There was always a feeling. It was about 2 years, and for those who know me, I tell the whole story. I say Josh and I both wrote and published a book after his passing that talks a lot about it. It's about 2 years before his passing. I had a conversation with his dad, and I won't go into too much details. We only have a limited time, but it was this weird feeling of, I can't imagine what he looks like as an adult. It's like our younger son, I could see maybe what he was going to be doing, and I could see a vision of him in the future. But with Josh, it's like it stopped. And it's really hard to describe, but it's a feeling like, I know it's going to happen. And on the evening when we got the news, it was almost a sensation of, and there it is. And that sounds odd to say, but it was like almost okay, there it is, right before the grief hit. So yeah,
well,
definitely.
Thank you for sharing that. It doesn't sound odd to me at all. And I hope those watching will take comfort from it and realize there is a bigger plan, operation. In other words, when you said it seemed like he was an inventor and visionary at a young age, I thought, well, he probably is. That's his eternal job.
Yeah.
And who knows, he may have just needed to come to Earth for a short time, learn some things, learn some skills, and then he was off to the next realm doing it at a higher level because of this short experience
Yeah.
that you and your husband afforded him. So kudos. So how did you first discover helping parents heal, and how did they help you, Cindy?
Well, so interestingly enough, as we all recall back during those early weeks and months after, it's kind of all a blur. I'm sure that's probably the case for all of you too. So in those early days, it was more of a desperation to understand where he was. And prior to Josh's passing, I believed in an afterlife, but I never really talked to those, relatives or friends that had passed. So it was all new to me, but I wanted to know where he was. So I started looking for information. And I came across Helping Parents Heal in that search, and got onto the website first of all. And I during the early months, it was a lot of reading other people's posts, and I didn't join any of the meetings, but I felt inspired to respond. I felt inspired to support, and it was sort of a healing for me, where responding to others and being part of that somehow helped me, until one day, and this sounds like an epiphany, and I don't mean it to sound silly, but I just understood I needed to be part of it. And so I reached out and I actually talked to Lisa Wilcox, and I'm sure many of you know Lisa, who I had come to know through other avenues. And she said, "Yep, you're going to have an affiliate." And I said, "Yep, I am." And it was as if it wasn't like a desire to go. It wasn't like a, hey, I should do that. It was almost as if, yep, that's what's next in the path. And have not regretted a single day in the last 2 years. Such a rewarding thing.
Nice. So tell us about your group, please, and what do you consider to be the strengths of it?
So it's interesting. When I thought about how I wanted to set up the group again, I didn't do my homework, and I didn't attend other groups. I didn't want to be swayed and think, oh, I have to be like that group, or I have to be like this group. I wanted to just kind of go inside myself and think what would work. So I started asking my son in spirit before every meeting. I'd say, what are we going to talk about? And I would sit in that, and I would just get these, what I call downloads, all sorts of information. Well, we're going to talk about this. This is what the group needs to hear. And it's been consistent. And so we have topics, and we bring a topic to the table that inspires conversation. We've had a couple times where the topic only lasted about 5 minutes, but it launched us into something else wonderful. Other times it went on for the entire conversation. We had a great time. Strengths. So I guess my perspective is, too often in life, we try to go around painful things. We think, well, what's my shortcut? How can I get around this? Really, the only thing you can do with grief is go right dead through the center of it. And recognizing that we are not our grief. And this was actually last month's topic. Think of grief as your landscape. So you may be walking down a road, and that road you're on is your path, is your experience. And think of maybe the trees or a house. That's your grief. And so remembering that it's part of our landscape, but it's not our path. It's not who we are. It's just an aspect. And so as we go through our meetings, holding on to that, for those who know me, have heard this a million times, so I apologize, but it's my life direction that was given to me by my son in spirit a month after he passed. And he said, a tragedy without growth is just a tragedy. And I live by that because it's absolutely true. And so the space that we create as part of the meetings is a space for remembrance, absolutely, but growth. For tears, yep, lots of those, but also joy. But most importantly, curiosity. And I know that's a word we don't typically associate with grieving, but think about that and really sit in that word as you think about my grieving. Well, what does curiosity mean? Well, it might mean looking for something different, or it might be looking for more, or where is my child? How can I connect with my child? But staying really, really curious and just having faith, really. That was a lot of words. I apologize.
No, that's okay. It's good stuff. And what a novel approach to, before the group, you and Josh consider, all right, what shall we do? Because, there's good evidence from multiple mediums that the kids hang out with each other. And so he's
Yeah.
learning from the other kids of the parents who are attending your group. What do the parents need to hear? So you're getting
Yeah.
this inside scoop. Um, wow, I wonder if there's a way, Len, that we can share that with other affiliate leaders, maybe in my next clinical support email, but share that idea. That's really good. And I don't think I've heard it before. So share with us, please, what you've learned over time about how you can best perceive Josh's living presence.
So I don't choose not to use the word fortunate because it would send the idea that I think that those who find it easier to communicate are somehow blessed, fortunate, more deserving than someone who's struggling to communicate. So I want to wipe that word out of the vocabulary when I talk about this. But I had the opportunity that my son and I communicate in a similar way when he was here on Earth. So therefore, it was very easy for me to communicate with him when he passed. Keeping in mind, this is a girl right here who did not believe in anything remotely resembling a medium or otherwise. But within a couple of days after his passing, it started. And it's really important to understand coins, feathers, random numbers. Those things are all wonderful and they are all meaningful. And absolutely, it's your child trying to get in touch with you. But if you're not a visual person, those things may not be how they're talking to you. So I understood from Josh, and I'm a very visual person. He was a visual arts person. So I see, and we play this little game that he started early where I'll say, tell me something about your dad. And he'll show me something. And I'll text my ex-husband and I'll say, so tell me about this. Right. And so he uses these things. So if you're a numbers person, if you're an analytical person, and that's how you perceive the world, focus on numbers, focus on mathematical type things, focus on shapes, things of that nature. If you're more visually creative, colors, focus on smells, focus on things of that nature. So think about who you are, think about who your child is, and it's really important to use that word is instead of was, who they are now, and look for those. And then when you see them, never fail to say, I see you. And once I started saying, I see you, immediately I could feel that joy come in. Like he's like, right on, mom got that one. And it just becomes a joyful game. And it not overnight, it's a learning process, right? I mean, think if you have children that are here with you still. They're not the same person that they were 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. You've had to learn how to communicate with them in a different way. You've had to learn to evolve with your children who are still here. You've evolved. So why would we think that our child who passed 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years ago, why would we think that they're the same individual that they were then? They wouldn't be if they were still here on Earth. So think about it in that way too. And that's how I try to remember it. It's like, okay, gotta stop thinking about him in his baseball cap and glasses. He clearly doesn't need glasses now. So thinking about it in that way, I think is Mark, how I try to key into that and what I share with parents.
Good stuff. So what are 3 things you've learned that you would like to share with other parents?
I think I would probably, I've spoken to them a little bit already, and that is, and I feel like I want everybody to say this in your head right now. You are not your grief. You are not your grief. And we get so consumed by it to the point where we're underwater with it. I had a moment where I was driving down the street in the middle of nowhere, screaming my head off for 5 minutes. Just like all of you, I understand that grief. But it is not who you are. It is not what you are. It's what you're experiencing. And the beautiful thing that we were chosen to be shining light parents. This wasn't done to you. You are not being punished. You were chosen to be a shining light parent for whatever reason we won't know until later. But it's because you have a capability. we all hold grief and we say, oh, we can't smile because that's joy and it's disrespectful to our child, but it's not. What you do is you grow that joy and that joy comes around. And so now you're walking through your life, you're holding that grief. You can see it, you can recognize it, but you're also expanding with joy. And what a great balance as you walk through life to say, yeah, I know this pain and I can help others, but I also have this joy and I can continue to celebrate and grow. So I think above everything else, I think understanding that that relationship continues and your child or children are challenging you to continue to seek that relationship. Just like they test us when they're here, God, they test us, especially when they're teenagers. They're doing that now in the same way. Yeah, I think we're just as simple as that. Probably not so simple, but it's simple.
Well, thank you for that. And I think that in addition to us being chosen for big challenges, we also have to agree to it, though. We have to volunteer.
Yes.
It's not forced upon us, and that's an important point. And I'm still marveling the question before that. And again, one that I learned so much from every one of these interviews because of my clinical psychology training. And we learned that different people have different primary sensory orientations. Some people learn more visually, some more auditorily, some more feeling. And so the idea for parents to consider, well, how was my child oriented? All right, I'm going to look for messages or clues, signs in that way. And also, if they were more visual, then, create a little sign. And
Yeah.
boy, that also makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we want to share this stuff. So finally, what's your belief or knowing about there being a meaning and a timing behind Josh's passing?
Well, first, I absolutely believe, I don't believe everything in the universe is predestined. I think that there are plans. I'm a big believer in soul planning or whatever terminology you might want to get it. And what that means to me personally is that, our stop here to Earth is potentially one of many. That again, it's not a punishment to any of us to be here. It's an exploration. And that's why I say to stay curious, because the minute we stop being curious, then what do we have, right? So we're here to experience something, and there's a self-growth. And if you shift your thinking to what if I chose this? What if myself, Josh, my other son, my ex-husband, my friends, what if we all sat around this table with whatever greater powers you believe in and said, well, I really want to learn this. Well, imagine it at a complexity that we can barely conceive of right now. It's like, well, in order for these things to happen, this needs to happen and this needs to happen and on and on and on. And we find a way universally to help each other. So when you hear people talk about we're all one, what a great concept to say, I want to learn this. Mark wants to learn this. Kathy wants to learn this. And we all work together to make those happen. So was there a purpose to Josh's passing? Absolutely. And it absolutely believed that he stayed as long as he could, but it was about 2 months after his passing. And my running route was right past the tree where his accident happened. So I continued to run that route. I talk about getting straight through the grief as opposed to going around it. That was my way of just going by there and seeing him and seeing the memory every day. And as I'm running, keeping in mind, this is a girl who didn't believe in this stuff before, I stopped in the middle of my tracks and I felt it. I felt, whether you want to call them spirit guides, whatever you want to call it, I felt everything. I felt Josh there. I felt everything around. And it was like, yeah, yep. And it was almost just kind of a feeling like I knew at a soul level what my tasks were. It wasn't like, oh, I know I'm supposed to do this, this, and this. It's more than that. It's understanding that everything is happening as it should and coming to the acceptance of that and surrendering to that, if you want to use that word, and saying yes. And I think it was either Lynn or you, Mark, that said earlier this evening about accepting that, saying yes, I'm accepting, I'm ready, let's do this, right? And the minute you do that, you hear that universal hooray, you know, and your kids are like, hooray. And doesn't mean you don't have days you're melting down. God knows I have those days still. 4 years, almost 5 years into this, I still have my meltdowns. But guess what? You're still moving forward. And I'll stop there because I could go on forever. I get so excited about this stuff, but I'll stop there.
Excellent. Thanks very much for sharing your wisdom. Great stuff. Claudia, you're up next, please, dear. And tell us, please, about Emma, her life and passing. You are muted.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry. I was on mute just to not make any funny sound here. Good evening, everyone. Again, like Cindy said, I assume that it's evening everywhere, but it's not. Yes, my daughter's name is Emma. She was a happy and healthy child as she grew up. She was very kind, but above all, she was a provincial gymnast. This was her passion. She grew up doing gymnastics since she was 3 years old. She was competing, she was happy. But at age 12, she was diagnosed with bone cancer and she had her leg amputated. Now, when I say that, she chose to have her leg amputated. And this, it's something that I made peace with very hard. We had many discussions about it, many fights about it, because the doctor said, we can save your leg, but insert a metal rod inside, and it's just for aesthetic side, but you cannot do gymnastics anymore. Her question was, I can do whatever you want, whatever treatment you tell me to, but when do I go back to gymnastics and dance? And he said, well, you can do gymnastics and dance only if you have your leg amputated with hard
Wow.
work and determination. Having inserted me and her afterwards, after this discussion, I almost fainted when I heard this. But between me and her, I said, how crazy can you be to let them cut your leg instead of saving your leg? And she said to me, she was only 12, and I will never forget, she said to me, you only care about me having two identical legs? You don't care about me that I want to do what I love to do? So I had to step back and let her choose for herself, for her own happiness. And I've learned that how resilient she can be and how she wants to live her life to the fullest. They told us from the beginning that she can live with this. They can save her life, but if the cancer comes back, they have nothing for her. And I take any opportunity to say that she learned this the hard way. I've learned this the hard way. Many people don't know that pediatric cancer is underfunded. And out of all the money that we put into cancer research, only 4% of the money go to pediatric cancer research. So she became an advocate for pediatric cancer. She became a Sick Kids ambassador. Sick Kids is the name of the hospital in Toronto where she was treated of cancer. She used to put on her Instagram page to inspire other people. She was inspiring. She's my hero, and she will always be.
Sounds like a strong spirit, too. How old was she when she passed, Claudia? When was that?
Well, when cancer came back, she knew that she doesn't have a choice, and this is going to be the end. She was 15 when cancer came back. She was old enough to understand this is what's going to happen. So we start having discussions about life and death. And believe me, it was harder for me than for her. She wanted to open up and say to me like how the funerals would like to be, and I couldn't handle it. I kind of postponed it. What I could do was to I was
You're freezing up.
the proofs of heaven of Dr. Eben Alexander, and we talked about all these things, and this is how I know, and I know that there is no death, and she's still with me. She's still here. When she passed away, if you ask me, as sad as this moment was, this is a gift to me, because she looked up in the corner of the room and she said in a very content voice, "Oh my God, mommy, it's time for me to go."
Mm.
And that was it. And I knew that she was not lost. She was not gone. She was not alone. And I knew she's still with me.
Beautiful.
And by the way, I started whispering to her ear that I'm so happy that you soon gonna do cartwheels again. You're gonna do gymnastics and flips again. You're gonna do whatever you want. And this is how she let go, and I let go. And I promised to her, I whispered to her ear, and I promised to her that I'm gonna watch Olympics with her all the time, because this is what we did the last 3 months of her life when she was in so much pain, and I watched her. We used to watch gymnastics, all the YouTube videos of Olympics and World Championships, and yes, the first World Championship, when it was on when it was on TV, my husband caught my attention and he said, it's gymnastics on TV. And I said, put it on record, because this is what I used to do with Emma. And he said to me, it is on record already. And nobody put it on record already.
Nice. Okay.
So, yeah.
I need to move along to, so how did you find out about Helping Parents Heal, and how did they help you in the beginning?
Well, I strongly believe that Emma guided me to find Helping Parents Heal. It was by, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. I call them synchronicities. Another mom told me about it. And when I start listening to their YouTube's videos, and there was a lot of online videos at that time, it was COVID time, I listened to Elizabeth and I said, oh, wow, I want to do this too. So soon enough, I contacted Elizabeth and I said, how can I do what you're doing? I want to do something like this here in Toronto, because I must say that I've joined one group of bereaved. I don't even like how this sounds, parents. And nobody would believe me. What I was just telling, I was talking about the signs that I get from Emma, and everybody looked at me like I'm kind of cuckoo. And I was even told, oh, we are not allowed to talk about these things here. And it was so weird to me to find out that we are not allowed to talk about it, where I found it so much healing in this.
Sure.
And I said, I want to find my tribe. I want to find my tribe. And this, when I heard Elizabeth, I said, oh, this is it. This is it. I have to contact her. And she told me that there is a group in Toronto, but we had already 2 affiliate leaders. And this is how later on I decided to become an affiliate leader for a Romanian group with Ramona.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah.
And what do you consider to be your strengths as a group leader and of your group?
Well, I don't know what my strength exactly is. I like to listen to the mothers. I'm a good listener, I believe, and I believe each one grieves differently, and I respect that. I wanted to start this group because Romanian people, my upbringing is in Christian Orthodox religion, and we believe that once we are dead, we are dead. We don't talk about afterlife. Was my upbringing.
Mm.
And going to a medium is a sin. Obviously, is a sin. You cannot talk about it. So until your child dies, okay. If this tragedy wouldn't have happened to me, I would have never thought of why am I here? Why the heck am I here on this earth? But now I'm thinking, if this didn't happen for a reason, that's nonsense. Like, why a child gets cancer, suffers so much. I get her to watch suffer, and she dies. She fights a lot. I fight beside her, her sister, my husband, my family, my whole family. And then this happens for no reason. That's a nonsense. It has to be a good reason, and I better find this reason as I'm here.
Yeah. Well,
And
we're getting to the last question, but first, tell us about how you've learned that you can best sense Emma since she changed worlds. How do you
because
sense?
you were
presence?
cutting off.
Okay.
Um,
What have you learned how you can best sense her presence?
well, before Emma passed away, maybe 6 months before Emma passed away, she started getting hearts. Like, she would drink a glass of water and she would stain her shirt. It would be in a heart shape. She would walk on the pathway and she would find a heart shape, or a puddle in a heart shape. Lots of hearts. She would get the blood work. She would get the gauze stain in a heart shape, and to the point that it was freaky to her. And she said, "Okay, stop it already." But I said to her, I believe that these are signs from God. God loves you and God loves us no matter what we are going through. And she said, at her 15 years old, she said to me, "How can you say this to me? I see these kids dying. And do you still believe that God loves me? I don't think so. These are signs from other kids who are there and they are waiting for me." And it was so hard for me to hear this. But that stuck with me. And then the first signs I find from her were hearts. Then I stumbled upon another things, and I found repetitions. So, for example, there is no way I drive my car every day and I don't find a car license plate with a number 047, which is the date when she passed away. And as much as I acknowledge and I say, "Thank you, Emma, I know you are with me," I receive more. When I acknowledge, I receive more. Or if I'm not sure and I talk to her and I ask her, "Can you give me another one? Can you give me another sign like this?" And I get a repetition of it, I know that this is her.
Good, excellent. So what are 3 things you've learned since she passed that have been important for you and you'd like to share with other parents?
Yeah, I've learned that there is no death, that's for sure. From her, the signs that I get from her, and also from the books I've read, I've learned that our children are trying hard to get our attention. And we have to stay open. And by that, I mean to be in a good place. It helps. Meditation, yes, this is what I wanted to say.
Excuse me,
But if you
Claudia.
can't meditate,
Hold on, excuse me. You blacked out for a moment. I want to hear what you said. You said that our children are trying hard to contact us. And then what did you say after that?
if we are in a good place, in a good vibrational state, like we have to raise our vibration a little bit for they have to lower their vibration, and we have to raise our vibration to meet somewhere in the middle. If we are in a good state, trying to stay calm, happy, meditate, open to signs and synchronicities, staying faithful, like Cindy said, curious. And if we are in this state, we can meet them. We can find them in spirit. I still have a relationship, and I continue to build this relationship with Emma. And another thing, the third thing that I can say to the parents, we might be on this earth again. And we might have we might have the roles changed. How would you feel if you would be the child and your child would be the mom? How would you feel? Would you feel happy for the child to leave your mom crying? Think about it.
Good. Good stuff. So finally, what's your belief, please, Claudia, about there being a timing and a meaning behind Emma's passing, even though it may not seem like it from a limited earthly perspective?
Well, I strongly believe that there is a soul plan. First thing, I've heard this from another person. I said that's insane. I cannot believe this. It's not happening. Like, how can I possibly choose me and my family, my other daughter, my husband, choose to come on this earth and experience all this? I don't even have words for what we experienced going through cancer with my daughter. How can we possibly choose this? But if I don't believe that this is a plan that we, all of us, put together in order for us to grow spiritually, to learn something, and not in a punishment way, then it doesn't make any sense, all this, what have happened. So I believe in a soul plan. I love Robert Schwartz, and I recommend everybody to read Robert Schwartz. I fell in love with his writings, and I've learned about him on Helping Parents Heal, and I listened to him on Helping Parents Heal. One day I hope to see him live. But yeah, this is what I believe in, a soul plan. And I want to add something more, tying into what Cindy was saying. I look back and do I have any sign, or do I recall anything before Emma passed away that gave me a sign or indicated that she will not live longer? And I said, no, I don't remember. But one day I clicked and I said, when I was pregnant with Emma, I used to watch every Saturday morning a show which was ran by Sick Kids Hospital here in Toronto. They were making a show, if I can call it a show, where they were talking about stories of the children with cancer. And at the end, of course, they would make an advertise if you want to donate, fundraise. And I kept watching it and crying every Saturday morning. And my husband would come and say, what are you doing? You don't have to watch this. Close it. We have to go for a walk. And I said, no, I have to finish my show and then we go. I was glued to that show, and I can only explain that for me it was like a preparation for what would go. I don't know. As a soul plan, tying in a soul plan.
I agree. And maybe she was preparing you.
Exactly.
Are you being attracted to that? Well, thank you for sharing all that, Claudia. Excellent job.
You are very welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Ramona, you're up, dear, and tell us please about Mia, or how you pronounce?
Yeah, Mia. Yeah.
Okay. So
Hi,
tell us
everyone.
about her,
I'm
please.
not sure if it's good morning or good evening.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to close the chat. So my name is Mona, and my daughter in spirit is Mia. She was born on January 5, 2020, and passed away on February 7, 2020. So she was here on Earth just for a month. Please excuse me, I have a candy. I have a bit of a cough. I hope I'm not gonna cough too much. Yeah, she suffered from a genetic syndrome that was incompatible with life. And unfortunately, she lived her life at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. And of course, I was there every single day. And yeah, that's her story. She wasn't here for too long.
Sure. Oh my, yeah, that's a tough one. And so I feel led to ask, did you have any dreams or any signs before she was born that prepared you for this, or almost like she was communicating with you beforehand?
No dreams or signs, but something that I can't explain is that I was always terrified of genetic syndromes. Ever since I, became a woman and I knew that I wanted children, I was terrified of it. And I know, I remember I researched it when I was, I don't know, maybe 18 or 20. And then I decided to let go because it didn't make any sense. And I don't know any other, I didn't have any female friends that would look into it. So that was a story or a research forgotten. And I only realized it a few months after Mia passed. But during the pregnancy, no.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's probably what I was feeling. And, I have some clear abilities. And so that came through pretty clearly to ask you about that. So it makes sense that on a soul level, you and Mia's soul agreed, okay, we'll have this possibly happen, quite possibly, for good reasons. And your soul remembered that, but your earthly part was like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to have children, I want to have a normal life. And I mean, who has an unexplainable fear of genetic syndromes at age 18? Or where's that come from?
Yeah.
So, yes, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, how did you discover helping parents heal, and how did they initially help you?
Uh, like Cindy was saying, first few months are a blur. So first 6, 8 months after Mia passed, I don't remember much of it. I'm sure my heart was beating, but I wasn't really living my life. And I have a very good friend who kept telling me I should speak with Claudia. So Claudia is a mutual friend. And I kept avoiding it. And I remember saying to my friend, if Claudia can bring Mia back, then I don't want to talk to her or to anyone for that matter, not Claudia specifically, because I've been to grief support groups that are run by local hospitals, and they were extremely sad. We were talking about, each tragedy, how it happened, and everyone there was hopeless. And so on top of your grief and your trauma, you would add on another 10, 15 other stories. So speaking about vibration, Claudia, I totally agree with you that it's not good for us. So finally, about 8 months after, I was so depressed, didn't want to live. I have 2 other daughters on earth, so that didn't seem fair to them and to my family. So I said, okay, I'm going to contact Claudia to see maybe she can help me in some way because it can't get any worse. So Claudia, we had a very, very warm conversation, and she's wonderful. She was an affiliate leader. So she told me about helping parents heal. And I always tell her that I just took a deep breath for the first time in many, many months, because she said, our girls are alive and fine. They're doing just fine. And I'm like, what? So wait, so Mia's not gone forever and I can actually see her again? And wait, there's more. You can actually communicate with your child. And that was, you were talking about the dark night of the soul. So it was kind of like the fog lifted and I had hope, but I didn't know what to expect. So you were asking me about the services I use. So immediately I joined the meetings. It was COVID time, so online meetings. I joined many, many meetings, and I finally understood what's going on. And I'm not saying that it was easier from the beginning, and I'm not saying that I'm not in pain every single day of my life, but it's definitely easier when you know that your child is just fine. You're in pain, they're just fine, as Mia proved me later on.
Yes, exactly. Great point. And for the parents, knowing that life continues, it makes it a see you later, not a goodbye. And that definitely lightens. So, what do you consider to be strengths for your group, and yourself as a group leader, Ravana?
I believe in order to be a good group leader, you have, like Claudia said, you have to have the ability to listen. I like to pay attention to the different challenges that our members have. For example, some mothers, and it's mostly moms. I'm not saying dads are all also welcome, but some have problems returning to social environment. They can't see anyone, and I've been there. Um, some mothers cannot reconnect with their families and their husbands, their parents, their children that are still here on earth. And that's a really big challenge because the family feels like they've lost the mom, the wife, the daughter, the sister. There's many challenges aside from having survival guilt and feeling like you don't belong. So I try to make notes about those challenges, and I try to address those challenges together with Claudia in a meeting and see what mothers have to say. And we share our experiences about how we can make it easier. And as a group, I think the strength is I've seen mothers there who only cried in the first few meetings. And then as they started to experience their own signs and synchronicities, and they started to open up, they started to help and encourage the new mothers who were coming. And I think that's wonderful. As a group, a lot of new friendships formed. I believe everyone who's an affiliate leader can appreciate that. And it's just wonderful to see us shining like parents being united.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here watching Claudia smiling and shaking her head as you talk. And yeah, I can feel the love. The folks in Toronto are lucky to have both of you there. So tell me about sensing Mia. How has that gone for you?
I started from the belief, like Claudia said, that when someone is dead, and that's what I believed when Mia passed away, due to the religious upbringing. And I don't want to say anything bad about Christianity or being an Orthodox. Just that part, it was ingrained in me for 40 years. So I didn't believe in survival of consciousness after death. Mia sure tried. From the first day, to communicate. So we came home from the funeral, and of course, imagine the state I was in, and we were eating at the table with my parents and Mia's godparents, my husband, my two other daughters, and the printer that's in the room where we were eating, that was definitely turned off, turned on by itself and printed a blank page. This is something that even my husband, who is a techie, can't explain to this day. I mean, if the printer is turned on, there are certain updates. I understand it's connected to the internet, but when it's turned off, it's turned off. So Mia sure tried from the first day, but and there were other signs that I recognized after I realized what was going on, you know, like a deer coming in our path, and we were able to go very close. It was a baby deer, so as you all know, they don't let people get close, but I'm sure that was not Mia, but Mia helped or you know, sent that deer in our path. When I started reading about and hearing about survival of consciousness after death, then it was a quest to find Mia. How do I do it, and where do I start, and what works faster? I think the first thing I tried was intuitive writing, that I learned also through Helping Parents Heal, one of the groups, Connecting with Your Loved Ones, that I recommend to everyone. And I remember talking to Claudia, and I said, I'm gonna try it. I don't think anything's gonna happen, but here I am looking for Mia. So
I thought you never gonna say it. I wanted you to say about Mary Bertun's group, of course.
yeah, Mary Bertun, the leader of Connecting with Loved Ones through intuitive writing, she's just wonderful. So I meditated to the best of my abilities first day, and I said, okay, I'm gonna see what happens. I wrote probably 4, 5, 6 pages without putting my pen down. And it was all, there were messages addressed to me, and there were messages addressed to all of us, and about our soul, and very deep stuff that I was at the beginning of my awareness. So I'm pretty sure it didn't come from me. There were words there that I never use. English is also not my first language, so there were words there that I don't use in my vocabulary.
Interesting. And so tell me, you know, since Mia was only on Earth for a month, were you concerned that maybe she wouldn't be able to contact you as long as, say, a child who lived 20 years?
I was concerned until I read about the soul plan. I mean, not the book, The Soul Plan, but until I read about the concept of a soul plan. Yes, I did have that concern. How's the baby going to communicate with me? But then reading about the fact that she and I may have agreed on this experience, I realized that not only she is not a baby in between lives, but she may even be a more evolved soul than I am. And they say that the ones that suffer the most on earth are more evolved. And just judging by the way she tried to communicate through electricity, the pendulum, you know, moving stuff. She's just wonderful. So a baby cannot do that. So I get it now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the baby.
Well, yeah, she sounds like a teacher, definitely. So what are 3 things you've learned, Mona, that you'd like to share with other parents?
The first thing is acknowledge the signs. And mothers ask me, and not just mothers who lost a child, but other friends or acquaintances in my environment, how do you know there's signs from your child? And the first thing I say is, if it feels that it warms your heart, it is a sign from your child. And then they say, but how do you know it's just not a coincidence or a synchronicity? And I said, it's fine if it's a coincidence. It's fine if it's a synchronicity. It's fine if it's explained by science. I mean, I know miracles also happen, but I believe most of the time the children have to work with what we have, with our laws, science laws. So they work with what we have. They work with license plates that already exist, and they send the butterflies that are already here. It's fine if it's explained by science. It can still be a sign from your child. But just as, I mean, yes, it can be a coincidence, but I'll give you one example. Yes, explained by science. We were going to one of my daughter's birthday parties. It was at an indoor playground. So we parked the car, and as we were gathering as a family from 3 cars to go in, I noticed the car parked next to us. The license plate was Una Mia, the one Mia. So coincidence, yes. But for me, that was a complete confirmation that it was her. So acknowledge the signs and say thank you, because I'm not saying they're frustrated. I'm just saying maybe they're gonna try less. I don't know, depending on how they feel. All I know is the more I say thank you, the more signs I get. And also I want to say something else. I was obsessed with signs because I needed that confirmation, because I was in so much pain. And as I was learning and reading and hearing, and I absorbed everything like a sponge, I needed confirmation day after day. And I did receive a lot of signs, and I was pretty specific because I didn't want it to be just a butterfly. It had to be that specific color and be either real or in a picture, or be, I was pretty specific, and I did get a lot of them. But then I realized, I think it took me a whole year to realize we shouldn't be dependent on signs. I realized it is our life, and we have to make our own choices. And I don't think we have to be dependent on our kids' signs to live a fulfilling life. So I just want to emphasize that now I do ask for signs and specific signs, not as often. But I am happy. I know Mia is with me every single moment.
Well, thank you. And then how about and by the way, your voice is holding up very well.
Oh, I think I got help. I asked for help. I said, don't let me cough too much.
I'd say you're going strong. So what's your belief about there being a meaning and a timing to things like a child's passing?
Oh, there is a meaning. The way I see it, I can look at things 2 different ways. And one is the universe is a total chaos, and everything happens at random. And some people are lucky and they get to keep all their kids or their kids. And some people are not that lucky, and here we are. And that is a terrible way of looking at things, and I didn't like it in the beginning. I think I chose to believe and to look at things to make me feel not better, to make me feel alive. I want to be alive. I want to live my life. So maybe there is a soul plan. I don't think everything is set in details. I think there is an outline, but we still have free will. And about the purpose, I thought about this for the past 3 years, 4 years. Mia would have been 4 in January. And a lot of people, whether they lost a child or not, they're trying to find their purpose in life. And as wonderful as it sounds, I gave up on finding the purpose, as in being being a leader or being a healer or being a good mother. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to do something good. I want to help the person next to me, but I don't want that big purpose. I like to believe that I'm growing spiritually because of this experience, but I don't have a set purpose. The set purpose, I think, is to feel alive.
Well, you all did it again. I am so honored to interview. I learned so much. I take so much away. Thank you very much. Excellent, Mona.
Thank you.
Lynn, anything you would like to share before we wrap?
No, I just thank all three of you guys. You're amazing. And thank you, Mark. We couldn't do this without you. And thank you for all of you who are on the meeting tonight and show up frequently. We appreciate all of you guys.
All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Have a good night. Love you
Thank
guys.
you. Good night.
Thank you.